The thunder didn't just shake the roof, it screamed. Gabe kicked open the chicken coop door, flashlight slicing through the storm. Straw flew, feathers whirled, and 3 figures crouched in the corner, soaked, trembling, their skin shimmering blue under the beam. "Please," the tallest one whispered, voice cracking like radio static. "We just needed shelter from the rain, and for one impossible heartbeat." Gabe forgot how to breathe. Rain hammered the tin roof like 1,000 fists. Gabe blinked through the glare of his flashlight, breath fogging in the cold air. The 3 shapes huddled in the corner barely moved, just a mother and 2 kids, or so his rattled mind decided to call them. Their skin caught the light like wet glass, glimmering in soft pulses of blue and violet. The smallest whimpered, pressing its face into the straw. Gabe's instincts, farmhand, fixer, man alone too long, kicked in before his fear did. "Hey," he said, rough but not unkind. "You lost?" The tallest raised her head. Water streamed down her cheeks, or maybe those weren't tears. "We'll leave," she murmured. "Just needed shelter. The rain burns." "Burns?" Gabe's pulse spiked. He glanced at the storm outside. Lightning spidered across the fields, thunder rolling so close it felt inside his bones. No way he could throw anyone, even glowing strangers, back into that. He motioned toward the door. "You're not going anywhere in this mess." "Coop's all I got, but it's dry." The older child, narrow eyes, thin arms wrapped around a smaller sibling, watched him like a cornered cat. The mother nodded once, relief softening her rigid stance. Gabe stepped back, letting the flashlight drop to his side. The beam caught a small metallic pendant around her neck, shaped like a spiral, with faint script etched inside. Nothing he'd ever seen before. He swallowed. "Name's Gabe. You folks from around here?" A pause. "Farther than you think," she said quietly. He almost laughed. It came out shaky, but it broke the tension. "Guess we're all a little far from where we meant to be tonight." He dragged an old blanket from a feed crate and tossed it toward them. They hesitated, then the mother spread it over her children. The sight twisted something in Gabe's chest, something he hadn't felt since his wife passed 3 winters ago. Protectiveness, maybe, or loneliness, recognizing itself. For a while the only sound was rain and chickens shifting nervously on their perches. The storm wasn't letting up. Gabe leaned against the doorframe, soaking in the absurdity. Aliens, or something close, camped in his coop while thunder swallowed the sky. If his brother called from town tonight, he'd think Gabe was drunk again. "Listen," he said, breaking the silence. "When the storm passes, you can dry off in the house. Got soup on the stove, assuming the power's still alive." The mother tilted her head, cautious hope flickering in her luminous eyes. "You would help us?" He shrugged. "Storm's no place for kids. Human or not." Lightning cracked again, flooding the coop with white light. For a split second, he saw the youngest child smile, tiny teeth, blue light glowing through them like lanterns. Then darkness returned, and Gabe realized the fear in his chest had melted into something else entirely: responsibility. Outside, the wind screamed. Inside, for the first time in years, Gabe didn't feel alone. By dawn, the rain had thinned to a whisper. The fields steamed under a pale, reluctant sun, and Gabe's boots squelched in the mud as he crossed to the coop again. He told himself he was checking on the hens, but truth was, he wanted to make sure last night hadn't been a head injury and a dream. It wasn't. Inside, the air smelled of damp straw and something faintly metallic, like ozone after lightning. The 3 strangers were awake. The mother, Alira, he decided the name fit her somehow, was crouched over a dented frying pan. The pan hovered an inch above the ground, glowing softly as eggs sizzled without fire. The smell was perfect, maddeningly normal. Gabe blinked. "You're cooking with what Jedi powers?" Alira looked up, puzzled. "With energy. It listens." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, tell it medium rare if it understands English." The older kid snorted, a sharp, surprisingly human laugh. The smaller one repeated the word medium like it was sacred. Gabe grinned despite himself. They ate sitting on overturned buckets. Alira watched him with that cautious politeness people used on thin ice. He noticed her hands, long-fingered, calloused like someone who worked, not a delicate invader from another world. "So," he said, chewing toast gone soggy. You crashed nearby? Her eyes flicked toward the woods. We fell through the sky. Our vessel broke apart. We walked until the water hurt. He thought about that phrase, the water hurt, and felt a shiver he couldn't blame on the cold. You're lucky the coop door wasn't locked. We tried the barn first, the older child said. Your horse screamed. Yes, she does that with everyone. Gabe chuckled. Don't take it personal. For a few minutes, silence stretched between them, easy now, filled with sounds of pecking hens and dripping gutters. Gabe caught himself studying the children, their eyes too bright, their smiles too careful. They weren't monsters. They were just scared. A shadow passed across the window. He stiffened. Two neighbors on the dirt road. Lorna and her nosy brother Joe, driving slow, scanning the property. Gabe's stomach sank. The county had been buzzing all week about a meteor sighting. He moved to block the window. Stay quiet, he whispered. If they see you, questions start I can't answer. Alira tensed, protective as any mother. The children froze. Gabe waited until the truck's hum faded, then exhaled hard. They think every weird noise is a government experiment. You'd fit right in. That earned him the faintest smile from Alira. It surprised him how much he wanted to see that again. He stood, brushing straw off his jeans. All right, deal's simple. You keep out of sight. I'll keep folks off your trail. Tonight you can clean up and eat proper food. Tomorrow we figure out the rest. Alira nodded once, solemn but grateful. You have our promise. When Gabe stepped back into the morning light, the sky had cleared to impossible blue. Behind him, he heard the younger child giggle, pure, bubbling joy. For the first time since the storm began, Gabe let himself laugh too. By the third morning, the sky looked scrubbed clean, but Gabe's nerves hadn't cleared with it. He'd barely slept. Every drone of a passing truck, every flicker of movement beyond the fence made his chest tighten. He told himself he wasn't scared, just careful. But fear had a way of sneaking in, disguised as vigilance. Inside the coop, the three were tidying like guests, desperate not to overstay. Alira had cleaned the floor until the boards shone, and the children were stacking eggs in neat, symmetrical towers. Their precision made him smile. Even aliens understood chores. He poured them coffee, watched them sniff the steam. You folks planning on walking out of here soon? He asked, casual as he could manage. Alira hesitated. We can't, not yet. They're still looking, they? Gabe asked. She looked toward the woods again. Those who took our kind to study. We escaped from them. The rain hid us, but only for a little while. Her words sank into him slowly, heavy as wet soil. Study, escape. The idea of anyone hunting children made his stomach knot. He'd seen enough cruelty on Earth. He didn't need to imagine it across the stars. He leaned on his knees. So, if someone comes knocking, I'm supposed to say what? That you're distant cousins from Oregon? The older child's mouth quirked. We can pretend. We learned your language from signals. She pronounced signals like singles, and Gabe nearly choked on his coffee. Guess that explains why you sound like a broken radio host. Alira shot him a look halfway between suspicion and amusement. For a heartbeat, the tension cracked, replaced by something warmer, almost ordinary. Then a low hum rolled across the valley. Gabe's smile died. Out by the road, a dark van slowed, stopped, and lingered longer than a lost tourist would. Its windows were blacked out. The engine idled without lights. He turned back toward the coop. Stay down, he whispered. Through a slit in the wall, he watched two men in grey jackets step out, scanning the field with metal rods that whined faintly. Not animal control, not meter readers. Government or something close enough. He ducked away before they could see him. Alira's voice was tight. They have sensors. They will smell the energy. How far can that smell reach? Farther when we're afraid. That line hit harder than he expected. He rubbed a hand over his face. Then we better make sure you're calm. He gestured toward the floorboards. There's a storm shelter under here. Old place my dad built. Not comfortable, but quiet. Within minutes, they were sliding into the darkness below. The kids clung to Alira's arms. She whispered to them in a soft, rhythmic hum that made the air vibrate. When the hatch closed, Gabe stood alone again, just a man guarding a secret bigger than himself. The van eventually rolled on, but the dread it left behind stayed. Gabe stared at the wet road shimmering in sunlight and realized the storm hadn't truly ended. It had only changed shape. For 2 quiet days the farm held its breath. Gabe fixed fences, kept to his routines, and tried not to think about the trap door under the coop. The aliens, his guests, his responsibility, stayed hidden, whispering only when the wind was loud enough to cover them. He almost believed they might make it through unnoticed. Almost. That illusion cracked on a Tuesday afternoon when Joe Weller's truck rolled up the drive. Gabe saw it from the porch and felt his stomach tighten. Joe never visited without a reason, and his grin usually meant bad news. "Morning, Gabe," Joe called, hopping out. "Heard the county sent some folks out this way. Meteor stuff. You see anything strange?" "Strange?" Gabe forced a laugh. "Aside from your haircut, nothing worth reporting." Joe chuckled, but his eyes roamed the property, curious as crows. "Heard about animals acting weird. Lights in the night. Lorna swears she saw something glowing near your coop." Gabe's mouth went dry. "Probably my generator. It's been shorting since the storm." Joe nodded slowly, unconvinced. He leaned closer. "If you're hiding something, Gabe, you ought to tell the feds. They're paying good money for info." There it was, the itch of greed under friendly words. Gabe felt heat rise in his neck. "You know me. I mind my business. You should too." Joe studied him a moment longer, then shrugged and climbed back into his truck. The smile he gave before driving off was small and satisfied, the kind that promised trouble. By dusk, a pair of government vans crept up the lane. No sirens, no lights, just purpose. Gabe's heart pounded. He ran to the coop, yanked open the hatch. "They're here," he hissed. "Move now." Alira gathered the children without a word. The younger one was trembling. The older held a small silver cube that pulsed like a heartbeat. "They followed the signal," Alira said. "I can draw them away, but you must help us reach the trees." They slipped out the back door, into the gathering dark. Mud sucked at their feet, and the rain began again, thin, cold, merciless. Flashlights cut through the night behind them. "Freeze!" a voice shouted. Gabe grabbed Alira's arm. "This way." They bolted through the rows of corn, stalks slapping their faces. Somewhere behind, a gun fired, one deafening crack. Gabe stumbled. Pain tore across his shoulder. He bit back a curse and kept running. They broke through the fence line, tumbling into the woods. Alira knelt beside him, pressing her glowing hand over the wound. Warmth spread, dulling the pain. "You saved us," she whispered. "Guess we're even," he grunted. For a moment the woods glowed faintly around them, leaves shimmering under her touch. Then the light faded, replaced by silence, except for Gabe's ragged breathing and the distant hum of engines retreating. They'd escaped, for now. But the price was carved into Gabe's shoulder, and the knowledge that nothing about his life would ever be ordinary again. They hid deep in the woods until dawn blurred the trees into mist. Gabe's arm throbbed where the bullet had grazed him, but the bleeding had stopped. Whatever Alira had done left a faint silver scar, like moonlight stitched into his skin. When the first birds began to call, she finally spoke. "They will search again." "We can't stay." Gabe looked toward the horizon. Smoke from the vans still hung over the fields. "You've got a ship to fix, don't you?" Alira nodded. The older child pulled the small silver cube from her pocket. It blinked in slow, steady rhythm now. "The beacon still lives," the girl said. "It will call home if we let it." Home. The word settled heavy in Gabe's chest. He thought of his empty house, the coffee gone cold, the porch chair facing no one. He wanted to say stay, but the thought felt selfish. They moved at sunrise, following the creek to a clearing where metal shards jutted from the earth like old bones. The crash site. Alira knelt beside the wreckage, her children already at work, hands glowing as they fitted fragments together. Gabe watched, half awed, half heartbroken. "You could come with us," Alira said quietly, not looking up. "Your wound would heal. You would see stars without clouds." He smiled, weak but sure. "Lady, I haven't even fixed the tractor. Space might be a bit above my pay grade." Her mouth curved, something close to laughter. "You are braver than you think." Engines roared faintly in the distance. The searchers were coming back. Elira lifted the cube. Light spilled over the clearing, folding into a spinning column of blue. Wind whipped Gabe's coat as the ground trembled. He stepped back, shielding his eyes. "I guess this is goodbye." The younger child ran to him and pressed something into his palm, a small egg faintly glowing. "For your chickens," she whispered. "It will never break." He wanted to say something wise, something fitting, but words caught in his throat. All he managed was, "Take care of your mom, all right?" Then the light brightened until the trees vanished. The sound rose, part thunder, part ocean, and suddenly there was nothing but silence and a clean patch of sky where the wreckage had been. Gabe stood alone, the egg warm against his skin. Around him, dawn broke fully, pink and gold pouring through the leaves. The fear, the secrecy, the ache, all of it felt strangely distant now, as if the storm had washed his world and left it new. Back at the coop, the chickens clucked like nothing had changed. He set the egg in their nest. It glowed faintly under the straw, steady as a heartbeat. On the doorframe, carved into the wood, were 5 words he hadn't seen before. "You gave us home, Gabe." He traced the letters with his bandaged hand, smiling through the ache. Overhead, a streak of blue light crossed the morning sky, and for the first time in years, Gabe laughed, soft, full, and alive. The storm was finally over.